Part 29. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 281. Lin Yi calculated that it could at least withstand the power of large-caliber weapons such as sniper rifles and desert eagles. He took a deep breath, and a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. Be prepared, and all the hot weapons are ready. His mind quickly communicated with Absinthe through the summoning picture book. Be careful when you go in. There are 3 people outside watching you now, and they may attack you at any time. If they follow in, I will follow in, and then we will attack them all together. If you don't come in, wait for my order. Absinthe heard the order from Lin Yi and replied secretly, yes, store manager. Dong dong dong. Absinthe knocked on the door of the house, and soon a woman in her 30s opened the door. Looking at Absinthe appearing outside the gate of her own house, a trace of vigilance and confusion appeared in her eyes. Who are you? Why are you knocking on my door? A man named Wang De asked me to come to you. He said his family has been having nightmares every day recently, and I am a person who specializes in solving such things. At this time, Absinthe was wearing Lin Yi's face, looking like a normal human being, with a faint smile on his face. When the lady heard this, she immediately showed a happy expression on her face. Wang De is my husband, sir, please come in. Soon Absinthe followed him into the house, and saw a simple small courtyard, which did not look like a wealthy family. There was a single family building inside, about 2 floors. Led by the rich man, Absinthe entered the hall on the 1st floor. Soon the woman brought a cup of tea to Absinthe, with a trace of deep sorrow on her face. Here's what happened. 3 days ago, my mother-in-law, my son, and I all had nightmares at night. We dreamed that a woman in white was chasing us. She kept saying that she died miserably and wanted to seek revenge on us. For 3 consecutive days, we dreamed that she was approaching us every night. Last night, when I was chasing her in my dream, she was only 3 meters away from me. 3 days ago, she was 10 meters away. I don't know what will happen if she catches me, but I feel very scared. Sir, can you help us? Absinthe smiled slightly. Of course there is no problem. I will help you deal with it at night. Now let's wait for the night to come slowly. Hearing Absinthe's promise, the woman was very happy and smiled. Soon the gate of the house opened again, and an old woman and a child about 7 or 8 years old came back. The child was carrying a school bag, and it was obvious that he had just gone to school. The woman quickly pointed at the old woman and the child. This is my son, this is my mother-in-law. Absinthe smiled slightly. Hello, mother-in-law, I am your son, the person invited by Wang De, who specializes in dealing with nightmares for you. Is that so? That's great. I'm about to collapse from this nightmare. The old woman looked at Absinthe excitedly with a fearful and sad expression on her face. In the evening, the woman in the house made a table of delicious dishes and placed them in the living room to comfort Absinthe. I hope he can help their family solve this matter smoothly. In the coffee shop opposite the house, Lin Yi sat there quietly. His eyes were very calm, and he kept peeking at the 3 people who followed him. Don't you do it yet? What are they waiting for? There was a trace of cold light in his eyes. Lin Yi did not intend to hold back at all. He would use the most swift means to deal with these people. Time soon reached midnight, according to Absinthe's request. The lady, the old woman and his children all slept in the bedroom next to the living room on the 1st floor. Absinthe was guarding the door of their bedroom. If there was any change, he would take action. As a vengeful spirit, he could naturally feel the endless vengeance in the courtyard. Just looking at it could feel the terrifying vengeance. Even he felt a vague threat. It seemed that something was staring at him, but he couldn't find the source of the sight. He had told Lin Yi everything he felt, and Lin Yi told him the reason for everything through the true destiny. Under the room, there was a space made up entirely of vengeance, in which there was a woman in white, who was locked by dozens of chains. It seemed that she was suppressed here, but in Lin Yi's sight, he could clearly see what the truth was. Under the ground was an abandoned cell, with dozens of chains tied to a skeleton, and all the vengeance came from the skeleton. These vengeances even formed a vengeance space, and the vengeful spirit of the dead was manifested in the luck space. But chains contaminated by resentment appeared in the resentment space at the same time, and these chains also locked the resentful soul. Chains are weapons. For most resentful spirits, the most fearful thing is the weapon that killed them in their lifetime. So this resentful spirit in white can only influence the three people above the cell through dreams. After seeing through all this, Lin Yi naturally knew the solution to the whole thing. First of all, the family of three obviously had nothing to do with the resentful spirits below. After all, the skeleton looked like it was hundreds of years old. Hundreds of years ago, these three people were not born yet. His attention was now focused on the three assassins guarding outside the street. The three assassins were at the left and right ends of the street, and at a commanding height in the middle of the street. They had been guarding there for the whole day without moving. Obviously they were waiting for the final result of this matter. A hint of indifference appeared on Lin Yi's lips, and he quietly left the coffee shop. Silently approaching the commanding height in the middle of the street. He used the illusionary way of the immortal man and walked in the shadows of the dark. Distorting the senses of the outside world, he approached one of the assassins silently. About a few minutes later, he had reached the highest point of the street. Standing behind the assassin who was holding a sniper rifle and aiming at the house. Looking at the assassin who was completely focused on the front and did not notice himself. A hint of sneer appeared on Lin Yi's lips, and he stretched out his hand and gently patted the opponent's spine. There was no energy in his palm, and all the energy in his body was restrained to the extreme. Relying on the true life source, no power can escape its control. Bang! With a light palm, the essence was injected, directly blocking his spine. The killer only felt numb all over his body, and he couldn't do anything. Feeling the changes in his body, he showed a look of fear in his eyes, and just wanted to shout out. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 282. The black smoke tentacles of the strange child have completely wrapped him. His mouth was completely sealed, and he couldn't say anything. Lin Yi showed a sneer on his face, the first one. The sniper at the highest point was just a martial arts master at the top level, and Lin Yi could easily take him down. The highest point was on the roof of a house. Lin Yi swept his eyes and stared at the killer on the left side of the street. He turned over and gently fell from the other side of the roof, bypassed the street, and approached the killer from another direction. Soon he came to the fork in the road only about 10 meters away from the killer. However, the killer was very vigilant. His eyes swept back and forth from time to time, paying attention to any possible threats. At this time, he was hiding in a dark corner of a house, and it was very difficult to approach. All this was not a problem for Lin Yi, because he had just got a brand new strange thing. The strange clothes that can travel through space can completely pass through a distance of 10 meters. The spiritual wave was injected into his clothes, and the next moment, his figure flashed and he was in front of the killer. Before the other party could react, his palm had already been printed on the other party's chest. The absolute control of the True Destiny solution and the True Destiny root made his power instantly seal the other party's heart and tendons. In just a moment, the other party was completely unable to move, and at this time countless black smoke tentacles rose. He was also wrapped in it, directly submerged and pulled into the darkness behind the strange child. The second one. 2 of the 3 killers are top-level warriors, which are easier to deal with. But the last one, the immortal killer, is the more troublesome target. But with Lin Yi's current combat power, even if he attacks head-on, he can take down the opponent in just a few rounds. Turning around and leaving here, Lin Yi approached the third killer from another direction. The third killer lived in a house at the right end of the street, and there was no guard outside. Obviously, that place was a place they had rented a long time ago, just for today's purpose. Lin Yi walked over and climbed over the wall silently. At this time, he had already activated the nine heavens mysterious ice all over his body, and was covered with a layer of black mysterious ice structure armor that was 1 centimeter thick. The moment he entered the yard, 2 low gunshots were heard, and it was obvious that this was a weapon equipped with a silencer. 2 sparks bloomed on Lin Yi's mysterious ice clip. Lin Yi's whole body of energy turned, and he had already rushed towards this human immortal master. He swung his palm down, all his energy was running, without any reservation. This human immortal master was very sharp, and he noticed something wrong the moment Lin Yi entered. At the same time, he also knew that his other 2 companions might be in danger. Although he didn't know who came to attack him, he had a rough guess in his mind when he thought of his target this time. Damn, hasn't this guy been in the target yard all the time? Why is he here? A thought flashed through his mind, and his face became very solemn. Looking at Lin Yi rushing towards him, he did not hesitate, and a trace of ferocity appeared on his face. He kept attacking Lin Yi with 2 silenced pistols in his hands. The gunshots from the 2 pistols kept ringing. But what surprised him was that all the bullets he fired bounced off the opponent's body. And then he noticed that the opponent was covered with a layer of black Xianbing armor. In an instant, a message flashed through his mind. It was a very distant legend that he had heard of. 9 heavens Xianbing, the best martial arts defense in the world. And at this moment, he was stunned, and Lin Yi had already rushed in front of him. He slapped his hands with one palm. Pa! The hands covered with Xianbing were like a solid blunt weapon, directly shattering all the bones in his palms. He let out an unbearable scream. Ah! But the next moment, he couldn't scream anymore. Countless black smoke spread out from behind Lin Yi and directly submerged him. A hand silently reached his Danshan position. A stream of spiritual energy mixed with spiritual waves was injected into it, blocking all the spiritual energy circulation outlets leading to the meridians in his spiritual pool. Without the spiritual energy, the master of the human immortal way is just an ordinary person with a stronger body. Even if he is a strong person who practices physical cultivation, he is only comparable to the top level. It must be said that Lin Yi's attack was too fast and too fierce. Combined with his own strange summons, he fought with more people and fewer people, and no existence of the same level could stop him. Finally, the 3 killers were captured, and Lin Yi took a deep breath. Now I know who is behind me. Thinking of this, a trace of invisible murderous intent appeared in his eyes. At this time, the strange child floated over from behind him, and countless strange tentacles tied up the 3 killers, revealing only their faces and eyes. They couldn't even make a whimper, kneeling on their knees, looking at the high-ranking Lin Yi, with unwillingness, regret and fear in their eyes. Lin Yi looked at them quietly. Tell me, who asked you to kill me? If you are willing to tell me and pay enough ransom, I can let you go alive after this matter. Remember, don't lie, I can tell if you are lying. Then let's start with you. Lin Yi looked at the first killer he had captured. At the same time, he signaled the strange child with his eyes, asking him to block all the hearing of the other 2 killers. Soon, the 2 killers' entire heads were blocked by the black smoke tentacles, and only 2 nostrils could breathe. Seeing the appearance of his 2 companions next to him, the killer trembled like a sieve. He had never experienced such a situation, and there was a trace of incomparable fear in his eyes. Sir, I am just a killer who accepted the mission. I can tell you everything. Please let me go. Hearing this, Lin Yi smiled slightly. Like I said, as long as you tell the truth and pay enough ransom, I can let you leave alive. Hearing this, the killer seemed to be relieved. Sir, it's like this. We received a mission a few days ago, asking us to plan to kill you. The mission describes your information in detail, at least a master of the human immortal level. You also have at least 2 ordinary strange objects in your hands, and a summoning type of strange object. Hearing this, Lin Yi's brows suddenly frowned, knowing that only the black-clothed team had summoning type strange objects. That means someone got some information about me from the blood department. Or the blood department handed the information over to the headquarters, and someone got the information from the black man headquarters. That's why they made targeted arrangements against me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 283. At this time, the killer continued, we have studied your various situations in detail. We just want to lure you out of the Wanchaiwu, and then ambush you here. That Wangda is someone we know, and he owed us a lot of money. When we went to ask him for money, we heard about this matter in his family. The captain felt that this was a good opportunity, so he killed him and used his human skin mask to trick you into joining the game. And you did come here according to our ideas. Originally, we wanted to find out your strength through his family affairs, and then take action against you. But now. At this point, the first killer was speechless. At this point, his eyes were full of fear, looking at Lin Yi, as if he was very afraid of Lin Yi. Because the purpose of this vicious plan was to deal with him. Lin Yi glanced at him indifferently, don't be nervous, I'm not very interested in killing people. I just want to know who is behind me. Now I know your specific plan, now I want to know who sent you to assassinate me. Sir, we really don't know who it is, we usually take the task in an underground bar. At that time, a well-dressed gentleman came to us, but he was wearing a hat and his face was covered with a mask, so we couldn't be sure what kind of person he was. Hearing this, Lin Yi's face showed a thoughtful look. It seems that you are just the other party's abandoned pawns. If something goes wrong, the other party can probably measure how strong I am. The next person who comes to kill me must be stronger. Okay, now I want to ask your other 2 companions. As he said, he gestured to the weird child to block all the man's hearing and touch. At this time, his eyes were looking at the second killer, and his senses had been released. Your first partner has confessed, so you should also tell us what you know. If what you 2 say is wrong, then one of you will die. As for who will die, I will ask your third partner. The second killer turned pale when he heard this. He knew that he must not lie, otherwise he might die. Sir, you really won't kill us. Can we really use the ransom to redeem our lives? Lin Yi smiled slightly and looked at him, I have never been interested in killing people. I am only interested in money. As long as you are willing to tell the truth, I can guarantee that you will not die. The second killer was relieved like the first killer when he heard this. He took a deep breath and began to tell Lin Yi all the information about their plan this time and the client. The final content is similar to what the first killer said, and there is basically no difference, which can prove that both of them are telling the truth. Lin Yi frowned when he heard this, looked at him and said, okay, I also received your message. Now I want to ask about your third companion. At this point, he signaled the strange child with his eyes. The strange child immediately sealed the second killer's 5 senses again, releasing the third killer's 5 senses. The third killer was also a master of the human immortal way. He looked at Lin Yi calmly. He knew that he had kicked the iron plate this time. If he made a mistake, he would die. The situation is not out of control now, as long as he can grasp the opportunity carefully. Sir, first of all, I sincerely apologize to you. This time I made the wrong choice. I am willing to dedicate all the funds we have collected over the years to you. In exchange for our lives, all our funds are 1,000 gold coins. According to the market price, 1,000 gold coins are already 1 million imperial coins. This is undoubtedly a considerable amount of money for Lin Yi. Lin Yi smiled, "You are very sensible. Let's not talk about the money for now. Now tell me the whole process first. Your two companions have told me everything. If what you said is different from them, I'm sorry. It's a matter of life and death. Please think carefully before you speak." Hearing Lin Yi's words, the third killer suddenly became nervous. He didn't know what his two companions said. He immediately began to organize his words and repeated the whole process. After listening carefully for a while, Lin Yi could be sure that the three people were telling the truth. Their content was exactly the same, although there were slight differences. Under his observation of the true destiny Deja, he could see all the situations in these people's bodies. Lin Yi has observed countless people. Through the true destiny Deja, he can see what kind of fluctuations will occur in a person's body when he lies, and what kind of fluctuations will occur in a person's body when he tells the truth. He can't hide it from him at all. He can even see what activities the other person's brain will have. No one in this world can hide secrets in front of him. This is the domineering and terrifying true destiny Deja. Nothing can escape his observation and understanding. Lin Yi looked at the third killer with a calm voice. "You three are all talking about the same thing, so you shouldn't be lying. I'd also like to ask if you noticed any special marks on the person who posted the task. For example, is he wearing any special watch or pocket watch, what kind of clothes is he wearing, or are there any special marks on his skin, such as tattoos?" The third killer thought for a while, and suddenly his eyes lit up, as if he had thought of something. "There is a scorpion pattern on the back of his right hand, which seems to be a tattoo. Because the scorpion is very exquisite, I took a closer look at it. The scorpion seems to be covering up a scar on the back of his right hand." Hearing this news, Lin Yi smiled slightly. "Yes, this is very useful news." The third killer looked at Lin Yi happily and breathed a sigh of relief. "Then can you let us go now, sir?" Lin Yi looked at the three of them and smiled slightly. "Not yet, after all, I still have some tasks to do. After completing the task, you will pay me every penny. Then I will ask you to help me perform a play." The third killer's face changed slightly when he heard this, and then he suddenly knew what the other party wanted to do. Changes were taking place in the house where Absinthe lived. A thick resentment rose up and covered the entire house. The resentment also enveloped the family. Absinthe Xiao looked at the resentment that was spreading slowly with interest, and a strange look appeared in his eyes. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 284. This is really interesting. Such a strong resentment is not something that ordinary resentful spirits can do. How strong is the guy hiding here? Manager, when will you arrive? I feel it is getting more and more dangerous. That thing is about to come out. As if sensing the danger, Absinthe began to call Lin Yi. Lin Yi heard Absinthe's call and turned to leave the small courtyard where the killers were. He strode towards the house where Absinthe was, but in just a few minutes he had climbed over the wall and entered. A trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes, watching the resentment that kept appearing, like spring water bubbling out from under the ground. The light of the true destiny in his eyes kept flashing, looking at the resentful space underground. The violent power was surging wildly, and the white-clothed resentful spirit locked by the iron chain was struggling wildly, taking advantage of the arrival of night. The yin energy of the whole world has been raised to the extreme, and this is the only time she can move during this period of time. The three people in the house, the mother-in-law, the daughter-in-law, and the grandson, were completely trapped in the fear of nightmares. They kept shaking on the bed, even struggling slightly, and had already entered a nightmare. Absinthe sensed Lin Yi's arrival, and hurried out, looking at him and said, "Manager, you are here just now, my heart is beating with fear." Absinthe said, while gently patting his chest with his right hand, just like a beautiful girl who was frightened. But he used Lin Yi's appearance to do this disgusting action, which made Lin Yi feel unprecedented discomfort. Staring at Absinthe, if you use my face to do these disgusting actions again, I promise you will be very, very happy. Hearing the threat from Lin Yi, Absinthe immediately stood at attention, and never dared to make any weird movements again. He knew that Lin Yi was definitely not joking, as long as he said it, he had to do it. At this time, Lin Yi looked at the ground. That thing is down there. At least it's at the level of a human immortal, you can't deal with it. As he said that, a cold light appeared in his eyes, and the earth seal appeared in front of him, and at the same time, his body was transformed into the essence of the great power Vajra seal. The golden light quickly enveloped the earth seal, and the root of the true name was activated. In the surrounding void, countless energies quickly covered the magic weapon, and a golden hill fell down and rushed to the ground. This attack was invincible, and the entire ground sank in an instant. Endless golden light penetrated the ground, and the terrifying light was like a meteorite hitting the ground. The white-clothed resentful spirit in the resentment space roared violently. But it was all to no avail. Under the cover of countless golden lights, it broke into pieces and turned into countless resentful black smoke. An extremely powerful resentful spirit went to destruction in Lin Yi's hands. It fell without even having time to exert any power. No one will even know what she has experienced and what she has encountered in the past. The world is always so cruel, death is always around, resentment and tragedy are everywhere. In the end, they will all be consumed in time, leaving no trace. After dealing with the root cause of the incident, Lin Yi turned around and looked at Absinthe. Let's go, there is nothing for us here, and we have to solve our worries next. There is still a big show waiting for us to sing. As he said, a deep sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. At noon the next day, Lin Yi and the three killers returned to Honglian City. They came back by train because they were sealed by Lin Yi's power. The three killers didn't dare to leave at all, so they could only do what Lin Yi asked. They followed Lin Yi back to Honglian City quietly along the way. Honglian City is very beautiful at night. The brightly lit neon lights flickered endlessly, illuminating the entire city very brightly, like a city that never sleeps. Orchid Street Bar Number 2, this is a special name. A small bar located in a dark corner of Orchid Street. The three killers usually take missions here, and it is also a gathering place for many killers. Lin Yi, who was sitting in bar number 2, showed a hint of surprise in his eyes. Interesting, you killers are really bold, and you actually opened a place to take missions here. The killer of the human immortal way was named Xuanhuan, and said with a bit of embarrassment. We can't do anything about this. The boss here is quite powerful. He opened a bar here, so we came here naturally. Do you know who the boss here is? Xuanhuan shook his head and said, I don't know. The boss here is mysterious and has never really shown his face. And no one comes here to make trouble. Even if there are some unruly killers, if they make trouble here, their bodies will definitely appear in the slums the next day. This is a place that everyone will be in awe of. Lin Yi nodded and continued, how can you open a killer bar here without strength? After you complete the task, that person will come to you. Yes. According to the rules, if he finds us here to accept the task, he must come here to pay us the money to finish it. This is the boss's rule, no one can violate it. Otherwise, the murder will be exposed. Lin Yi was very interested when he heard this. You can just transfer the money directly, why would he do this? Looking at Xuanhuan with a hint of doubt in his eyes. I don't know about this either, because this boss is very mysterious, and no one knows what he is thinking. Lin Yi seemed to have guessed the purpose of this person. Is it to leave some handle to blackmail these people in the future? If this person is really as powerful as Xuanhuan said, there is a strong force behind him. By finding the handle of these task issuers through this method and cooperating with their own business, then they can do a lot of things. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration in his heart. It is indeed very powerful, and the forces behind it must be able to suppress these task issuers. At this time, the other two killers sat here, looking a little anxious, with a look of embarrassment on their faces. Lin Yi glanced at them. Don't be too anxious, since you failed, this is the result you should bear. I will see this person later, and you can fly away. Xuanhuan and his two companions showed more and more embarrassed smiles on their faces. Today they were caught and gave away the mastermind behind the incident. From now on, there will be no place for them in the killer circle. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 285. At least they can't survive in the killer circle of Honglian City. And all their savings were handed over to Lin Yi, so they were penniless. They didn't know how to solve their future life. But all this had nothing to do with Lin Yi. If a person did something wrong, he would have to pay the price, and no one was exempt. Time passed by minute by minute. After sitting here for an hour, the client who entrusted the three of them finally arrived. It was a man wearing a top hat, a black windbreaker, and a mask covering his face. At this time, Lin Yi lowered his head and was drinking the drink in his hand. This person came to Xuanhuan's table. Lin Yi and Xuanhuan were sitting back to back, and he was at the table next to the three. He sat here alone, and the person who came didn't notice anything. Mission completed. Xuanhuan said with a serious face, "It's completed. Where's the voucher?" Xuanhuan took out a box from under his feet, opened it slightly, and there was a human head inside. A faint smell of blood came to his face. The face was Lin Yi's, and it was a processed human head. Or rather, absinthe turned into this human head. Absinthe was a vengeful spirit, and he could turn into anything at his will. According to Lin Yi's request, he turned into Lin Yi's head. The purpose was to deceive the trust of the person who issued the task, and then follow the clues to find out the real culprit behind him. At this time, Lin Yi had already activated the True Destiny Daoji, observing all the information of this person. No information could escape his prying eyes, and everything was clearly displayed in front of him, including the cultivation method in this person's body, and all the traces on his body. Although he only saw this person with a slightly squinting look, the power of the True Destiny Daoji was so strong. After the task issuer saw Lin Yi's head in the box, a smile appeared on his face. He took out a gold card directly from his arms and handed it to Xuanhuan. "Here are the 500 gold coins we agreed on. Keep them. This is an anonymous bank card. You can withdraw it at any time." Xuanhuan took the gold card and smiled, "Okay, thank you." The task publisher left the second bar with the box containing Lin Yi's head. At this time, Lin Yi also stood up and followed him out. Of course, he did not forget to take Xuanhuan's newly acquired anonymous bank card before leaving. Xuanhuan could only watch Lin Yi disappear in the second bar with a helpless look on his face, and glanced at his two companions. "Let's go. We have to leave Honglian City overnight. Otherwise, if the other party reacts, we may have to die here." His two companions showed a trace of sadness on their faces. They knew that they would be on the run from now on. Those who can come here to issue tasks can give 500 gold coins at a time. The forces behind them must be not small. Their future lives will definitely not be too smooth. Even if something goes wrong, they will end up dead. At this time, Lin Yi followed the induction between him and Kueiju and walked out of Orchid Street. Walking towards the east of the city, there is a famous wealthy area. It seems that this person is either rich or noble, and should be a subordinate of a certain force. Then let me see who is plotting against me behind this. About half an hour later, Lin Yi arrived in front of a luxurious villa complex. The area around here is full of villas. It seems that only the top people in Honglian City can live here. Just standing near this huge villa mansion area, he has been monitored by dozens of different eyes. Obviously, they are all guards or bodyguards in the villa. Lin Yi's eyes locked on one of the villas with red and white exteriors, where the fluctuations of absinthe spread faintly. After feeling the location from absinthe, Lin Yi did not rush in rashly. Through the induction of absinthe, he naturally knew what was going on inside. In a luxurious bedroom, a man was hugging two beauties sitting on the sofa. Both beauties are the type with turbulent waves and fiery red lips, but one is dressed youthfully and the other is charmingly. At this time, they were giving the man a full-scale massage. Dong dong dong. There was a knock on the door. "Come in," the man said in a lazy voice. The task publisher holding the box of Lin Yi's head walked in respectfully. He glanced at the man, looking down at his shoes without looking away. "Sir, the task has been completed, and the man is dead. This is his head." The man raised his eyebrows and turned to look at the task publisher. The other party had already lifted the box and gently opened it, revealing Lin Yi's head inside. At this time, Absinthe opened his eyes, stared at the man who was looking over, and a strange smile appeared on his face. In an instant, the man on the sofa froze all over, and a sense of fear rushed into his heart. Before he could come to his senses, the absinthe in the box had turned into a terrifying ghost face and pounced on him. "Ha ha ha, it turned out to be you. Is it you who wanted to kill my master? Go to hell." Absinthe pounced on the man fiercely. The two women beside the man stood up instantly, and a dense aura emanated from their bodies. Their cold, dark palms slapped towards Absinthe. Kueju, who saw the situation was not good, did not block it at all, but went into the ground and disappeared. He just showed his face to scare the other party, he was not a fool. This kind of villa is definitely full of masters. If he left a little later, he might stay here. Looking at Absinthe disappearing on the ground, the frightened man was furious. He looked at the task publisher with a ferocious face. "Damn it, how do you do it? How dare you bring such a dangerous thing to me?" At this time, the task publisher knelt in front of the young man with a pale face. "Sir, I am not doing my job well." The task publisher obviously knew the character of the young man very well, and did not make any excuses, and decisively admitted his own problems. The young man looked at him with cold eyes. "If you hadn't followed me for many years, you would be dead now. Now that the other party has discovered me, they will never give up. This matter cannot be solved openly, it can only be solved secretly. You go find a stronger killer and kill him. I will never allow a man who may affect my plan to appear around Sakuramiya surely." The task issuer bowed his head and said, "Please rest assured, sir, Scorpion will complete the task this time, otherwise I will be beheaded." This mysterious young man was Donggong Woody, who broke into the living room of Sakuramiya Shirley's house. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 286. Donggong Woody. It is said that he seems to be the son of Prime Minister Donggong Taiyu. But there seems to be some conflict between the two, so they don't live together. At this time, outside the villa, Lin Yi has already got his answer and confirmed who attacked him. After the last incident, Sakuramiya Swilly gave him some information about Donggong Woody. It was to let him take precautions and be careful of being retaliated by this person. Now it seems that the other party has obviously been holding a grudge against this matter and has come to the door. Donggong Taiyu, this is not easy to deal with. Prime Minister of the Empire, if I touch his son, I'm afraid this person will fight me to death. With the support of official forces, the identity of the man in black will be abolished. And the Donggong family seems to be a big family in Honglian City, which is not easy to deal with. With his brows tightly furrowed, Lin Yi immediately realized the danger. If he kills Dong Gongwudi, the Prime Minister will definitely use his power to eliminate him. Even if Dong Gongwudi was not killed by him, as long as he is involved, he thinks that Dong Gongtai will not let him go. This is the mentality of the superiors. No matter whether it has a direct relationship with you or not, as long as you are suspected of being related to you, then please die. With vigilance and thoughts about this matter in his heart, Lin Yi turned around and disappeared in this area. He needs to be fully prepared. There will definitely be a storm next. But this man doesn't seem to have much power, and his martial arts skills are only at the top level. Then it's not a problem to cut off all his hands and feet. A tiger without claws is just a sick cat, and there is no threat. Then slowly think of a way to deal with him. Thinking of this, a cold smile appeared on Lin Yi's face. He knew what to do. Absinthe did not follow him out of here. Lin Yi gave him the task of monitoring everyone who walked out of the villa and recording their appearance. He would find a time to catch all these people in one fell swoop. Back to the Wanchaiwu, brandy and vodka were open for business, and everything in the store was in order. Seeing Lin Yi return, Brandy smiled and happy. "Manager, you're back. How's everything going?" With a puzzled look on his face, he looked around. "Where's Absinthe? Why can't I see him? I've arranged for him to do something else. Try not to go out these days. If you want to go out to buy something, it's best for vodka to go with you. Be careful, someone might attack you on the way." Lin Yi's eyes were fixed on vodka, which made him alert. Vodka nodded seriously, "Yes, manager." At this time, Lin Yi looked at him and said, "I have a tactical suit here, which can prevent damage from hot weapons. You can come to my bedroom later to get it?" Vodka nodded quickly, "Yes. He has been here for quite a while, and he knows the terrifying power of technological weapons developed in this world through the internet. Even if he is at the peak level of the human immortal path, he has no chance of winning against real large sniper rifles and heavy weapons. If there is no special protective equipment, there is basically no chance of winning against hot weapons. Unless the practice method has a special nature that can prevent damage from hot weapons. For example, the mysterious skill 9 Heaven's Mysterious Ice that Lin Yi has obtained now is known as the best defense in the world. Unless the essence in the body is exhausted, it is almost impossible to break through. Or it exceeds the limit pressure that the black ice armor can withstand. And this skill has an unparalleled change in Lin Yi's hands. He can also use the True Life Root and the True Life Solution to absorb external energy to bless the black ice armor, making its defense even better. Lin Yi has tried it before. Once he uses the True Life Root to bless the black ice armor, then he can even withstand the attack power of the Earth Seal using the True Life Root blessing. This kind of defense can be imagined how terrifying it is. Coupled with his Earth Seal, it can be said that the power of attack and defense has reached the peak level of the human immortal way. If the tactical suit is added to prevent sudden hot weapon attacks, then he has almost no weaknesses. Already standing at the peak of the current cultivation path, unless he is a super master who surpasses the human immortal way, he is not afraid of anyone. Standing in the bedroom, Lin Yi began to record the mission information this time. Case number 26. Time, March 10, 2020, Red Lotus Calendar. Location, Donglan City. Event, Donglan City Nightmare Mission. The killer hired by Dong Gongwudi wanted to set up a trap to kill me, but was discovered. He took 3 killers and solved a female ghost imprisoned in the cellar. The ghost was chained to her limbs and should have been imprisoned to death. It was more than 100 years ago. The story and hidden secrets are difficult to guess. Threatened the 3 killers, and through them I found the mastermind behind the release of the task Dong Gongwudi, who is the son of Dong Gongtaeyu and lives alone. At present, it is judged that there are at least 3 masters of the immortal level in the villa, 2 women and 1 man. Items obtained after completing the task: 1,500 gold coins, a space-time canvas. After recording his own event book, Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at the various events he recorded, a shadow that was vague shrouded his heart. This is a precursor to chaos, and all kinds of chaotic events are emerging one after another. This is just what happened in Honglian City. If it expands to the entire Honglian world, how many things are happening? Thinking of this, he shuddered all over, as if he saw an endless and terrifying future. Shaking his head slightly, he observed his situation. At present, the essence in his body has reached 40%. The effect of Ling Yuan Dan and the blessing of Qi condensation method are rapidly improving his progress. The liquid transformation of the first level of the human immortal way has been completed by more than half. Looking at the current progress, it's not bad. In another half a month, I should be able to start refining liquid. Exhaling deeply, he fell into continuous practice. At this time, a shadow was also coming towards the Wanchai. At night, Dong Gongwudi's subordinates Scorpion were leading 3 people to the Wanchai. The 3 people behind him, each of them was filled with a strong smell of blood. Obviously, they were all crazy demons who had killed countless people. Scorpion's voice was heard in a low voice: 3 of you, the person we are dealing with this time is very powerful. He has at least 3 strange objects in his hand, 2 of which are attack type, and 1 is a summoning type. There are 4 kinds of terrifying creatures of the vengeful spirit type in his summoning type strange house, which is very dangerous. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 287. 2-headed dog, 2 human-shaped ghosts, and a purple corpse. Except for the purple corpse, all of these 4 ghost creatures are at the first level of the human immortal path. And the purple corpse-like monster, according to the information we received, is already close to the second level of the human immortal path. And the purple corpse monster has a very strong self-healing ability and is very powerful. It is the object of our focus. Everyone must be very careful. If the opponent finds a flaw, we will be in great danger. Taiwan Novel Network. Rightward arrow. Scorpion was very cautious this time. The 3 people he found were all masters on the Empire's wanted list. Each of them has at least hundreds of lives. These 3 people, 1 woman and 2 men. 1 man was at least 2 meters tall, with very developed muscles, wearing a tight suit, carrying a rocket launcher on his back, and hanging all kinds of hot weapons on his body. He was simply a humanoid weapon platform. Rage Black Dragon, this is his title. He once killed one of the most elite special forces of the Empire with his crazy firepower output in a battle to besiege him. The other man was very thin and looked only about 1.75 meters tall. The whole person gave people a very handsome feeling, and had nothing to do with criminals. But he was filled with a greasy smell of blood, as if he had been soaked in blood. Blood Artist, this is his name. Because he possessed a strange power, his favorite thing was to draw countless blood to strengthen himself. He could even cause damage to the enemy by controlling the opponent's blood. His biggest achievement was that 3 masters of the human immortal way besieged him. He manipulated the blood in the opponent's body, causing them to make mistakes in the battle, and he seized the opportunity to kill them. The last woman had a very cold look, like a piece of black ice, without any emotion. She was filled with a dark and cold feeling. The Ice Killer, this person practiced a mysterious technique, which was extremely cold. Anyone hit by her technique would quickly die in the parts hit, and eventually die due to organ failure in various parts of the body. It was a very vicious technique. Her greatest achievement was killing a supermaster of the second level of the human immortal Dao in a guerrilla fight. The essence of masters of this level has been condensed into light, but facing the strange technique of the Ice Killer, they still died at the hands of the opponent. Each of these three people is a top 20 figure on the wanted list. They were hunted by the entire empire, and Scorpion was able to find them all in a short time. It must be said that it cost a huge amount of money and connections. And he was able to persuade them to take action, and the energy behind this must be not small. When the violent black dragon heard this, he sneered, "Human immortals, as long as they are not immune to physical attacks, they will be defeated by firearms." The ice killer said coldly, "Summoned creatures. Just block them for a moment, and kill the master, and they will be useless." The blood artist chuckled, "I wonder what kind of blood flower the owner of the Wanchaiwu can bloom." In the Wanchaiwu, Absinthe has returned here silently. Lin Yi listened to his report, and a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. "You came so fast. Revenge is not delayed overnight. Are you afraid that I will come to you for revenge? It just so happens that I swallowed all these people. My maze guards are still short of a few general level figures." He quickly notified Brandy and Vodka. In the lobby, all three stood in front of him. Lin Yi looked at them. "There will be a big battle soon. Brandy, you go hide in the underground maze by yourself. Absinthe, you are responsible for protecting him. Vodka, you will fight with me later. The tactical goal is very simple: lead them into the underground maze, and then I will use the power of the underground maze to disperse them everywhere. Let's concentrate our strength to defeat them one by one." Absinthe heard this and immediately smiled. "Wow, you are too ruthless to use your numbers to bully the few, store manager." Lin Yi glanced at him, with a disdainful smile on his face. He, the enemy is here, so I will naturally use my advantages to the maximum extent. I may not fight them fairly. The best tactic is to destroy the enemy with the least force. Winning with force is the kingly way of military tactics." Hearing Lin Yi's high-sounding words, Brandy on the side was deeply moved and nodded. "The store manager said it very well." Absinthe looked at him and pursed his lips. "Only the store manager can say that the number of people is so high and mighty." Vodka was expressionless on the side. He had just joined this group not long ago, so he didn't dare to joke with Lin Yi casually. He knew very well how terrifying Lin Yi's nature was. The eyes look at the nose looks at the heart. It seems that everything has nothing to do with him, he just needs to obey Lin Yi's orders. Lin Yi rolled his eyes at Brandy and Absinthe. "Okay, stop being funny, start making arrangements, and wait for them to come." As they said, they came to the entrance of the underground maze and walked down one by one. All his summons appeared in the basement. Two-headed dog, purple corpse monster, bad doctor, weird child, Vodka, and Lin Yi himself. 6 adults are fully armed, and no one can last a round against them. At this time, Lin Yi's spirit is connected to the Wanchaiwu, observing the situation in the Wanchaiwu. It is not yet 12 o'clock, but around 11 o'clock in the evening, and there is no special weird phenomenon. At this time, 4 figures climbed over the wall in the backyard of the Wanchaiwu, and their eyes showed caution and solemnity. Begin to be careful around to prevent unknown dangers from suddenly appearing. They stayed in the yard for a minute, and nothing else happened, and then they began to walk towards the Wanchaiwu. They walked very slowly, and everyone was already on alert, with their spirit running in their bodies, and a faint pressure enveloped them. Soon they passed through the corridor of the Wanchaiwu and entered the interior. Scorpion stood in the corridor and looked around, and soon locked the room on the first floor. "That is Lin Yi's room," and he waved to the other 3 people. They all stood outside Lin Yi's room. A blood-red thread rose from the hand of the elegant blood artist. The thread went through the keyhole into the bedroom and the door lock. Without any sound, the bedroom door slowly opened, and the situation inside appeared in the eyes of the 4 people. It was empty, with no trace of Lin Yi at all. The house of everything I created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 288. Seeing this scene, Scorpion's face showed a trace of solemnity and doubt. Did this guy run away in advance? After this thought flashed through his mind, his face suddenly became more gloomy. If this matter is not handled well, he will definitely be punished when he returns. Damn, where did this guy go? Did he really hide? If this guy goes from the open to the dark, it will be a huge threat to the young master. No, he must be found and killed. As he said this, his eyes looked at the three masters who were invited. Scorpion's voice was a little low. There are still a few employees in this store, catch them. Torture them severely, and you must force Lin Yi's whereabouts to be found and killed. The blood artist had an inexplicable smile on his lips. Let me do it, I am best at doing this kind of thing. As he said this, countless filaments made of blood spread out of his body, and he climbed the stairs and walked towards the second floor. Countless filaments spread to each room on the second floor like a tide. But a few minutes later, he walked down the stairs on the second floor with a gloomy face. Seeing the blood artist, Scorpion's face suddenly became gloomy. No one. The blood artist nodded. I have explored every corner of the second floor with the power of blood. Nothing was found, they seemed to have all left. Scorpion was silent for a while after hearing this, and then shook his head. They shouldn't have left yet. I have arranged people to monitor this place a long time ago. He has never left since he came back today. The reason we can't find them is because they are hiding. They must be here, but they have covered themselves up through some unknown method. Speaking of this, Scorpion suddenly thought, we seem to have overlooked a place. The violent black dragon looked at him, and a rough voice sounded low, what did we overlook? An inexplicable smile appeared at the corner of Scorpion's mouth, underground. They must have built a shelter or something like that under this house. In the past, many houses in Honglian City had air raid shelters under them. It is to avoid looting in the chaotic era and leave a hiding place for yourself. As he said this, his eyes looked at the blood artist. I'm afraid I have to trouble you, Mr. Artist. A strange smile appeared on the face of the blood artist. It was a twisted smile very similar to that of Absinthe. This blood artist and Absinthe are the same kind of people. The filaments formed by countless blood power quickly spread to the ground. Looking at the countless blood filaments, whether it is the scorpion, the ice killer, or the violent black dragon, there is a trace of deep fear in their eyes. This all-round attack is very vigilant, at least for them. It takes a lot of effort to resist the countless blood power like thin filaments. And this blood artist looks like the type who specializes in long-range attacks. In a real battle, they will never let them get close easily. The blood artist seemed to feel the fear of others, and his heart became more and more excited, with a hint of joy in his eyes. It seems that the fear of others is the best reward for him. Soon he found the entrance to the basement, and a trace of joy appeared in his eyes. Found it, they have a basement, in the kitchen. Hearing this, everyone was refreshed. They came to the kitchen in a few steps, and a staircase leading to the underground appeared in their eyes. The staircase has been opened by the blood-colored silk thread, and everything inside is clearly visible. Scorpion's face showed a sneer. Sure enough, they are hiding below. Blood artist, now you need to continue to explore whether it is safe inside, and then we will consider it. The blood artist frowned slightly. My blood power can't go deeper. It seems to be a large underground building below. My blood power limit is 10 meters, it can't go deeper. The scenery within 10 meters is the same. A passage made of dark green walls, and there are forks inside. If we want to find out the situation inside, we can only go in by ourselves. Although the blood artist's expression was very distorted, his thinking mode was very calm. Everyone's face condensed slightly when they heard this. In an ordinary coffee shop, a large underground building appeared underground, which was obviously wrong, and there was a problem. The three people looked at Scorpion. As the person in charge this time, they naturally sought Scorpion's instructions. After thinking for a few minutes, Scorpion showed a cold light in his eyes. Let's go, Let's go down and take a look. If I'm not mistaken, maybe this is a relic left over from a certain dynasty. This Xuanhuan happened to be opened above, and this relic was just discovered by the owner of this Xuanhuan. Recently, with the Second World Change, various mysterious relics have appeared in the world. Maybe we have hit the jackpot and happened to encounter such a relic. Hearing Scorpion's words, the other three people also had an idea. This time, in order to invite the three of them out, Scorpion issued a special pardon, which could exempt them from all the sins they had committed in the past. They will be able to live a comfortable and happy life again. At the same time, they can join a big force and completely get rid of the wild state. After all, no one wants to be a local rat, hunted by the empire every day, and live a precarious life. Now hearing about a place that seems to be a ruin, it makes them feel that good luck seems to be favoring them. Humans are always confused by various illusions, dreaming about the spring and autumn period, and self-indulgent. Under the leadership of Scorpion, they slowly walked into the stairs and entered the underground maze. Then they saw a passage covered with dark green light. The passage extended straight to 7 or 8 meters away. There was a T-junction there, leading to the left and right sides respectively. The ice killer, the cold voice slowly sounded, "This looks a bit like a maze. Everyone be careful not to get separated, otherwise there may be unknown dangers." The ice killer's voice was very cold, penetrating, and made them feel a kind of coldness from the bottom of their hearts. A shiver rose from their bodies involuntarily, and their somewhat hot heads instantly woke up. Several people looked at the ice killer in surprise. This was obviously a trick used by the other party. Scorpion nodded secretly, "This is really amazing. He can make us feel cold through sound. I wonder what kind of skill is so amazing." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 289. Thinking of this, he couldn't help showing a hint of interest in his eyes. They walked slowly towards the depths of the passage, while paying vigilant attention to the surroundings. As long as there is any danger, they will immediately return the same way. At this time, Lin Yi's mind is connected to the strange magic cube, controlling everything in the Xuanhuan. He quietly watched the 4 people walking into the maze. He needed an opportunity to display the space shuttle ability inside the underground maze. Instantly disperse all the 4 people, let them appear in various places in the maze, and disperse their forces. We have to wait a little longer, we need them to go deeper. Time passed by every second. This is a game of hunting and anti-hunting. Whoever has enough patience will be the winner of this hunt. However, the 4 scorpions who have stepped into the trap have the most losses, and soon they came to the first T-junction of the underground maze. They did not split up, but directly chose the left passage to move forward together. Just a few seconds after they stepped into the left passage, the maze suddenly began to change. Countless dark green threads shot out from the wall, covering the 4 people. Scorpion shouted, "Oh no, there's a trap." The violent black dragon took his rocket launcher from behind without any hesitation, pointed it at the back and pulled the trigger. A flaming rocket rushed out and blasted in the direction they came from. Countless blood threads shot out from the blood artist's body. They were entangled with the dark green threads sprayed from the walls, the sky, and the ground. This entanglement quickly bought time for others. A black light bloomed from the waist of the ice killer. It was a soft sword, a dark light enveloped the sword body, and countless cold lights burst out, cutting towards the dark green threads around. This sword light contained a coldness beyond common sense. All the dark green threads blocking her in front of her would be frozen into ice the moment they came into contact with the sword light, and then shattered by the power of the sword light. Boom! A huge explosion exploded from the direction of the passage they came from. The rocket exploded with great power, shattering everything within a radius of 5 meters. A large gap was blown out of the maze wall, and a huge air wave swept in 3 directions along the passage. The countless dark green silk threads extending from the maze swayed under the air wave and were even torn off. In just a moment, the 10-meter range of the explosion became a chaotic ruin. At this time, the violent black dragon had rushed over like a wild bull, heading towards the direction of the passage they came from. As soon as the trap appeared here, he knew that the danger was heavy, and he decided to escape immediately. The power characteristics of this maze are very similar to those of the Blood Artist. It's okay for the Blood Artist, it's an ability used by individuals. As long as the Blood Artist can be killed, his ability will naturally be useless. But in this maze, they don't know how to destroy this ability at all. If they keep resisting this attack unilaterally, problems will arise sooner or later. They can survive the siege of the Empire, so they naturally have their own set of combat concepts. They have a strong ability to observe danger, and any threat that they cannot deal with will make them choose to run away. They don't need to risk their lives for an amnesty order. The violent black dragon is not the first person to do this. The moment he moved, the Blood Artist and the Ice Killer also moved. 3 figures rushed towards the entrance of the underground maze like a hurricane. Scorpion saw the scene and his face turned blue with anger. "Damn it, how dare you!" But before he finished speaking, the underground maze bloomed with dark green light, and his eyes were blurred. When he came to his senses again, Lin Yi and his summons appeared in front of him. He was completely surrounded in the center, and Scorpion's face was ashen. He knew that he had fallen into a trap, and the other party had been waiting for them to step into it. He was shaking with anger, but there was nothing he could do. The prey stepped into the trap, and everything was out of his control. Facing the siege of the purple corpse monster and the 2-headed dog, Scorpion was knocked to the ground before he could even fight back. He was stepped on by the purple corpse monster and struggled to raise his head, looking at Lin Yi in front of him, with anger and resentment in his eyes. "You will die, you will definitely die." Scorpion knew that he had absolutely no way out, the other party would never let him go back, and death was his only outcome. So he also risked his life and cursed Lin Yi. But Lin Yi didn't care at all, he just smiled slightly, and then countless dark green silk threads grew out from the ground. Like leeches, they pierced the scorpion's skin and entered the scorpion's body. Countless severe pains spread from his body, making him howl and struggle in pain. "Ah, it hurts, kill me quickly. Ah!" But no matter how he wailed, Lin Yi just watched coldly. He wanted to use the power of the maze to transform Scorpion into a guard here, and then get all the information he wanted from him. After becoming a maze guard, they would become maze slaves. Even their minds would be distorted, and they would be completely loyal to the master of the maze, that is, Lin Yi. This is the horror of the maze transforming life into a maze guard. In just 1 minute, Scorpion stopped screaming. He climbed up from the ground, and there was no change on his body, but he was no longer a normal life form. His life and the maze were completely integrated. As long as the maze was not destroyed, he would not die. Looking at Lin Yi respectfully, he knelt on the ground. "Great Master, Scorpion offers you the highest loyalty." Looking at the surrendered Scorpion, Lin Yi smiled. "Very good, from now on, you are the general manager of the underground maze. I will leave this place to you in the future." Scorpion stood up slowly. He was a middle-aged man about 40 years old. He had 2 small mustaches on his face and looked very gentlemanly. "For the order from Lin Yi," he said respectfully from the bottom of his heart. "Yes, Master." Lin Yi glanced at him. "Don't call me Master, call me Store Manager." "Yes, Store Manager," Scorpion said respectfully, and would not go against Lin Yi's will at all. "But he has wisdom. The only difference from ordinary intelligent life is that he is absolutely obedient to Lin Yi." Get ready. Next are the other 3 people. We will take them down one by one. As he said this, Lin Yi's will had communicated with the maze. After a slight twist, the figure of the violent black dragon appeared in front of them. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 290. The moment he appeared, the sound of da-da-da-da had already exploded. Countless bullets were ejected from his double-handed machine guns. The transfer power from the maze just now not only acted on Scorpion, but also on the 3 people of the violent black dragon. They were all sent to various parts of the maze, and were struggling to fight against the dark green silk threads that permeated the maze. Among them, the violent black dragon was the most difficult, and he took the body training route. Although his defense was amazing, he could not get rid of the entanglement of these dark green silk threads. He could only use the weapons in his hands to blow up the walls of the maze one after another. In this short period of time, he destroyed at least 1/5 of the maze. Just when he wanted to continue to destroy the entire maze and rush out, the distortion that transferred it to an unknown area appeared again, arousing his vigilance. He used his machine gun heavy weapon at the first time and started attacking the moment the distortion disappeared. In his heart, firepower is everything, and everything cannot kill the enemy, that is just because the firepower is not strong enough. Lin Yi was a little surprised by the sudden attack of the violent black dragon. However, in an instant, he had already performed 9 heavens mysterious ice. At the same time, the purple corpse monster had blocked in front of him and rushed up violently. The 2-headed dog pounced on the legs of the violent black dragon from the lower body, and the 2 blood-spraying mouths on the left and right directly bit his legs. He suddenly flipped him to the ground with force, and the purple corpse monster directly pressed him with a bear hug. Suddenly, the 2 machine guns of the violent black dragon were smashed to pieces in the collision. He and the purple corpse monster fought on the ground, and the 2-headed dog bit his legs tightly, making him unable to stand up. The violent black dragon could only lie on the ground, waving his hands fiercely, constantly attacking the purple corpse monster all over the body. This is a war that is difficult to describe in words, with every punch hitting the flesh and every punch drawing blood. It was as if 2 prehistoric beasts were fighting for life and death. At the same time, countless dark green threads extended from the ground and the wall, sweeping towards the violent black dragon. This time, he could no longer struggle. As the dark green threads penetrated into his body from his wound, the transformation had begun to be inevitable. Ah, get out of my way. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Get out of my way, violent power burst out from the dying violent black dragon. At this time, he seemed to have used some kind of forbidden technique, his skin was red, and his strength doubled in an instant. The purple corpse monster could not suppress him, and was hit by his countless fists and flew up. But at this moment, Lin Yi, who was covered in black ice armor, moved. I don't know when he came in front of him and slapped him on the forehead lightly. The cold veins penetrated into his brain meridians in an instant. Under the observation of the true destiny, the violent black dragon had no secrets for Lin Yi. His power came from the potential explosion of the brain, which was a means of overdrawing life. He directly used his energy to seal the meridians in his brain, blocking the stimulation. He was silenced instantly, and countless dark green threads had penetrated into his bones. After dozens of seconds, the violent black dragon completely stopped its struggle, climbed up from the ground, and stood respectfully beside Lin Yi. Great Master, the violent black dragon reports to you. Call me the store manager from now on. From now on, you are under the jurisdiction of Scorpion. Yes, store manager. Lin Yi's eyes were cold, and he continued, next, I will transfer the other 2 people at the same time, you get ready. Take them all down. Yes, store manager, Scorpion and violent black dragon replied. The other summons bowed their heads and submitted to Lin Yi's orders. Vodka stood aside and never had a chance to attack. The next moment, the maze twist appeared again, but this time there were two people. Ice Killer and Blood Artist. The two of them just used their own methods to resist the dark green thread attack from the maze. Walking in the maze at the same time, looking for the exit, they immediately became alert as the distortion appeared. When the distortion ended, their faces froze. They appeared in a brand new passage, and there were at least 8 immortal masters looking at them. There was a trace of disbelief in the eyes of the two, because their companions, Scorpion and Violent Black Dragon, were among the 7 people. What's going on? Why are they on the opposite side? It was beyond their understanding, and they had no idea what was going on. They just saw the cold eyes of Scorpion and Violent Black Dragon, which made them feel cold all over. At this time, a thick black fog quickly enveloped the place. From the bad doctor, a faint threat quickly covered the passage. The Ice Killer and the Blood Artist felt cold all over. A corrosive force was eroding the essence of their bodies. Not good. The two moved instantly. They had a tacit understanding and rushed directly in one direction. They knew that once they separated, they would not have any chance of winning, and death would be their only result. They can only attack together to have a chance of survival. The Ice Killer was in front, with a sharp sword light, directly covering the direction where the Scorpion and the Violent Black Dragon were. In the direction where they were, the purple corpse monster and the strange child were guarding. Countless black smoke tentacles slashed out crazily, rushing towards the two people. Countless sword lights rose in the hands of the Ice Killer. The extremely cold sword light accurately fell on each black smoke tentacle. In just a moment, the black cold air spread to countless black smoke tentacles. These tentacles were all broken at the same time under the huge impact of the sword light. At this time, the purple corpse monster had passed the strange child in one step and arrived in front of the two. Two huge fists slammed down on his chest, and the violent power was endless. Facing the violent attack of the purple monster, the faces of the two people changed drastically. At this time, the Ice Killer was exhausted and had no strength left. He could only reluctantly push the tip of the sword and stab at the fist of the purple corpse monster. The Blood Artist saw the scene and his eyes sank. Countless blood threads around the body turned into a huge fist, smashing the purple corpse monster's fist. The bravest wins when two meet on a narrow road, a completely head-on fighting style. The fist made up of countless blood-colored filaments is as big as a human head. These blood filaments are entangled with each other in an amazing structure, forming a perfect power structure. In an instant, all the blood thread power is concentrated to one point. The fist and the sword light collided with the left and right fists of the purple corpse block at the same time. A huge muffled sound exploded instantly.